I can cut out anything later.
Sure.
So anyway,
Okay.
so I'm here with the Rokas again and Daniel from Freestyle TKD Federation.
How's
Tell
it
us a
going?
little bit about yourself. You've been missing from YouTube for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been really busy. My MMA school that I used to train at, which was only like a mile down from my taekwondo school, they actually combined with my gym. They were having issues with their landlords, and so that kept me really busy. I kind of took a break from YouTube and started teaching striking in like an MMA setting, and just helping grow the school and manage the extra growth and everything. So that was keeping me pretty busy. So yeah, I took a little break from making videos. I might come back and make some videos this year, but I also just moved to another state, which separates me from my school. I still own the school and the property and everything, but
You're in
I'm
the
not
US,
actually.
right?
Yeah, I'm still in the U.S. Yeah, I was in Oregon. Now I'm in Arizona.
Mhm. Oh, cool.
So got to figure out where the next step is now. Try to reestablish myself here in a different state.
I've been subscribed to your channel, so I noticed when Rokas told me, "Oh, I met that guy from FTF or some." I don't know how it came up, but what do you mean? I think I know that guy, and
Yeah.
he knew who I was, so it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We all end up knowing each other in this community.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened is we met with Daniel fairly recently, like a few weeks ago, and we were talking about taekwondo and applying taekwondo or just traditional kind of more non-MMA martial arts into MMA. And I remembered you, Santiago, of your videos sparring where you do some very nice taekwondo kicks in a sparring session.
Mhm.
And I think I started telling Daniel about you, and he was like, "Wait, is that guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the same guy." So it was all connected. And then
How did you guys end up meeting each other anyway? Like, it's kind of random.
Do you want me to tell it or you?
Good, you start. I'll jump in.
Well, Rokas came out with his famous Aikido versus MMA video, and it was funny because around the same time, I was seeing a lot of crap talk with Aikido and MMA and all this stuff, and I have a Hapkido background, which is very similar to Aikido, and I was already planning on trying to make some videos that kind of showed how to use some of the Aikido style techniques with MMA. And when Rokas put out that video, I was like, oh crap, I got to reach out to him. So I actually emailed Rokas, telling him that I had some ideas, and Rokas was open to doing like a Skype, almost like a martial arts discussion, and it ended up almost turning into like a little bit of instruction over Skype, and we kind of went over some theories and some techniques, and so that's kind of how we came to know each other. I
trained Hapkido also. I lived at a couple of Hapkido teachers' houses when I was living in Korea, so I trained some Hapkido also. And the first art that I learned was actually Aikido when I was a kid. I did it for about a year. So yeah, there are similarities. It's just Hapkido is maybe more aggressive in its application.
Right.
But yeah,
my Hapkido instructor was actually an Aikido black belt, a Judo black belt, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and a Taekwondo black belt. And he was really high ranking. He was like 4th and 6th degree and 7th degree and all these different arts. So my Hapkido was very heavily influenced by those other styles. We did all the judo throws. We did a lot of the same Aikido wrist locks and throws, and then we also did some punching and kicking like Taekwondo style stuff.
What I noticed about Hapkido is that it's like there is no actual structure or standard base. Every school has their own thing. Like it's very random. It's like MMA, but with a martial arts kind of background, so to speak. So you could learn everything until black belt in one school, go to another school, and it's something really different. So that's one thing that I don't like in a way, because it gives you no standard way of seeing, like, I don't know, of assessing the level in general. Because how do you know if a guy is good or not? Like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I read about Hapkido, I mean, I never tried Hapkido. I just read about it in the past because I was like, okay, what's up with this Aikido and Hapkido? And I was surprised to learn that it has the same lineage, like the same the master who taught Ueshiba and the founder of Hapkido apparently was the same guy. Like was that the founder of Daitoru? Forgot his name now. Takeda, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but then so what I read is exactly that there's a bunch of that people are encouraged to take in any technique they like and to drop it into Hapkido. What's interesting to me to observe, though, I guess Hapkido is a great example of how much it's not about the technique, but about the training method in the end. Because so many times we focus on the technique. It's like, which technique is better? Is boxing technique better, or is Wing Chun technique better? But in the end, it's the training method is so much more important than the technique.
It's like going to driving school and you drive in a simulator and you study all the theory, but until you actually get in a car and drive on the street, all of that stuff is not going to help you that much. You actually need to practice. Or if I learned boxing alone and all I did during my training is shadow boxing, that's fine. You put an opponent in front of me and he's going to kick my ass because I've never actually tried this.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah, and you can have like great technique and know all the theory, but it's just like, again, it's the Bruce Lee thing, swimming on dry land.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what I wanted to ask you guys, because so you both have like a high-level taekwondo background, and me and Daniel had this long, great, interesting conversation, but it's going to take a while until I will release it, about the difficulties that taekwondo is going through. So I would be very interested to hear you guys tell me more about what you guys think about taekwondo today. Like, is it going well, or what do you think about it?
I was going to ask before we get into that, Daniel, what's your taekwondo background? It's like Olympic taekwondo, or?
Mostly WTF style taekwondo. I did compete in mixed tournaments where we did ITF style point sparring. When I was younger, I did a lot of competing in that realm. But yeah, my actual rank is WTF, Mudokwan and Jidokwan taekwondo.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I didn't really know your background, but I can see you have a lot of knowledge from your videos. I found them actually very helpful. I've actually taken some of the things you were, some of the tips you were giving. They're pretty good. So.
Oh, good.
But yeah, well, what you're saying about the taekwondo thing, it's complicated. It's not only with taekwondo, it's with every art. But taekwondo has been the recipient of the most critiques because of all the commercialization. I think it's been the style with the most heavy critiquing upon it. And it's not, I mean, the art itself is not the problem. It's just the way it's taught. I'm not like a diehard blind follower that I'm going to say, oh, taekwondo is like the best, blah, blah, blah. No, I actually find a lot of flaws with it, like with any style. But it's not like a completely useless thing like some people want to claim it is. What do you think?
I agree. Back to the old roots of Taekwondo, you had everything with knees, elbows. You had some light trips and throws like they have in karate. You have all the basic kicks, front, round, side kick, back kick. You have a whole arsenal of weapons at your disposal. And in my opinion, the Taekwondo using all those tools has more potential than like Muay Thai, I would say.
Yeah.
Muay Thai doesn't use a lot of back kicks. Muay Thai doesn't use a lot of the more angular kicks, crescent kicks, things like that. You can do low kicks if you want in Taekwondo. There's, if you go back and review a lot of the old books from Che and stuff like that, he has pictures, showcasing low kicks. A lot of the forms have knees and elbows in them. So we know that stuff is in Taekwondo, but all that stuff has just kind of been watered down and taken out. And now it's just practiced in this really watered down way. Now it's not as effective, but it's not as effective because of the training.
Yes.
It's not because of the techniques associated with it.
Actually, if you look at the original encyclopedia of Taekwondo, there's a lot of judo-like throws and blocks and all sorts of things. Even there's with photographs and everything. I think it's 7 volumes or something like that of the official encyclopedia for ITF at least. There's defense from sitting in a chair. There's hand conditioning. Or originally you were supposed to condition your hands by working with a bowl full of pebbles and stuff like that, like old school martial arts. There's a lot of stuff we obviously don't do it because of various reasons, but
yeah,
all that stuff is in there. Just like you say, it's just not being used anymore or trained. And also competitive, the competitive side of things have also are a cause of watering things down, because trying to keep everyone safe and whatnot, it's become lighter and lighter. And but it,
well, that was kind of,
no,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying it bothers me when someone, not to say there are some BS arts out there that are useless. I'm not going to say, but they exist. But most traditional martial arts, they have a value. Just because most people today can't get the value out of them doesn't mean they're useless. That's the problem also with the practitioner. Or some guys who say, I know a lot of guys who say, even Taekwondo guys, spin kicks don't work. They're just for show, blah, blah, blah. They don't work for that guy. So he automatically assumes that they're just shit. They don't work for anyone just because he can't do them. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're good with a certain technique, you can apply it and it will work. Sorry, go ahead, Rokas.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point you're bringing up, and I remember when me and Daniel talked about the kind of you could say I would say there's two wings of martial arts. There's kind of the what I call traditional, and by traditional I mean heavily based on tradition. So very strict rules, very much still culturally inspired, which is not a bad thing, but oftentimes that limits the application of it. And then more the right side is the more functional, where it's more competition based and it's more about pressure testing. And I find like Aikido for me is very much on this side, on the traditional side. It's quite far, which is I think why Aikido gets so much trouble. But Taekwondo for me seems to be, it's like kind of close to that other side. Not entirely there, but it's not like one of those cases where it's like for example, I would have a much harder time imagining how Wing Chun would look functional, rather than Taekwondo. I think it's not that the gap between, let's say, applying it in mixed martial arts is way lesser than, and in Aikido too, you can apply this and that. There's some wrist locks and some other movements, not much, but I think the gap is still big, and it changes very much. Taekwondo, I think it's not that big of a gap. So
because it's a striking art, it's easier to adapt it to striking, a striking environment. I noticed this with kickboxing specifically. If you come from a striking art like Taekwondo or karate or whatever, like a good solid base from a striking art, usually the problem is with the boxing. Traditional martial artists were not good boxers generally. Because I trained Taekwondo, I trained Kyokushin and a few other arts. And the main problem I had when I transitioned to kickboxing was the actual boxing. I got my hand full of fingers, we say in Spanish. I get fingers on my hand, that's like punching. Anyway, I got my face punched like crazy the first few months until you get used to the actual boxer's guard and everything. But the difference is this: the guy who comes from a martial base, he will have, eventually with training, he'll have a much better arsenal of weapons, mobility. He'll be overall much better than the guy who just did kickboxing, for example. And a lot of kickboxing champions, the best ones, come from Taekwondo or karate, most of them. Like Daniel said, you get a really wide arsenal of tools at your disposal, which you wouldn't get if all you do is kickboxing or Muay Thai. Muay Thai is just power, but it's very limited technically. This is my point of view, and I've met a lot of people who do kickboxing who also think this.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point in terms of the punching aspect, or being punched in the face, or just the actual boxing. I guess that's something I had to go through as well. And they make this joke even about jiu-jitsu people, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that the famous joke goes like, what happens when you punch a jiu-jitsu black belt in the face? Do you guys know that joke?
No.
He becomes a purple belt. And then what happens if you punch him again? He becomes a blue belt, so brown belt, purple, etc. But then it's a funny joke in the relationship that if you're not training punches, as soon as you get punched in the face, we come back to this other famous phrase, which most people credit to Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. And, and that was my experience as well. Like, I had this idea. I knew I will suck in doing MMA. I mean, the sparring first time. I knew my Aikido will not come up, but I was still having this idea, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that. And then you get punched in the face and you're like, damn, nothing happens. I can't do this. And I think that's only these days I'm finally coming to a point where now I feel comfortable being punched in the face. I almost like it. I'm like, oh, that was
I was going to tell you that. You get to a point where you become somewhat of a masochist. I enjoy getting punched.
That is
it's kind of like, you know, in my case, it's kind of like you see you can take it and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel strong. Like, let's see how much I can take. You know, it makes you feel strong.
Like, yeah, you can appreciate the punch. You're like, oh, that was a good knockout punch.
And before, I'm sorry, we're not letting Daniel talk, but before, I just want to say something. From what I've seen of your latest sparring, you're doing well. Like, I'm impressed, actually. I'm not just because we're friends, but you've actually you're doing some really good boxing, really good. Your boxing, you move well. You've got a good guard. I think you've got some future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I thought the funny part is I thought I'm hopeless.
No. You know, the thing is, since you don't carry any bad habits in striking, like I'm used to having my hands down and stuff like that, even after years of doing other stuff. So I have bad habits, but you don't have that. So you're actually developing proper boxing skills, which is the most essential.
Cool. Thank you, Santiago. Well, but then, what was interesting for me is now, and only now I'm starting to consider that actually this was also inspired by a talk we had with Daniel when we met. Daniel told me about angles, like that Aikido has a lot of working with angles, just turning and turns on your feet and movement, feet movement just in general. And after we had our talk, I didn't tell you that yet, Daniel, but I started looking into that, and now when I feel comfortable being punched in the face or just protecting myself, now I can start thinking about them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a little bit of Aikido here, and that movement for me feels pretty natural, much more natural, because I did it like hundreds of times, those turns, which never were practical for me, but finally I have an advantage versus like a beginner, because for him, he never did those turns, it's new, and for me, I'm like, okay, I can do these Aikido turns, and suddenly I'm starting to see where Aikido can come in, but only when I feel comfortable about this.
Right. I wanted to follow up with you on that. I wanted to kind of like ask you, you know, like in a few weeks or a month and say, have you been focusing on that, and have you been noticing those little light bulbs going off? Like, oh yeah, this is this and this is this. Like, there are definite moments where, like I said before, I've had people compliment me on my footwork and be like, man, you're really light on your toes, or wow, you circle really well, or you maintain your angle while you're flanking, and I can definitely attribute that to my, you know, Hapkido experience and other things that aren't directly related to my boxing or Taekwondo.
Yeah, the circular foot movement that you have in Aikido or Hapkido from throwing, that's really, really useful. You know, I'm a small guy. I'm not very strong, but I have to use footwork and movement mostly, and it really makes a difference between me and some guy who's just standing there trying to. Even in Kyokushin, which is just two guys going like this and beating the crap out of each other until someone gives up, I just try to move around the guys, you know, because I'm not so heavy. But the footwork really helps. It really makes a big difference. And when I see the UFC sometimes, they're just two little monkeys hitting each other, like, you know, tattoos and everything. It's like, who's got more tattoos is going to win. There's no footwork, no technique. I respect all of those guys. They have guts and they're tough, but they're technically very unrefined.
You know? Rokas, did you watch that George Foreman versus Frazier fight?
No, I should
okay, I definitely watched that. That's a good example of some good circular footwork. George Foreman, as big as he is, he's almost doing like full 180-degree, you know, movements while Frazier's, you know, putting pressure on him, and he's doing just beautiful movements.
Yeah, Foreman is one of the greats. Like that guy's amazing. Especially, there's two boxers I really, really like. One is Foreman, and the other one is my favorite boxer is Sugar Ray Leonard, because he's a lighter guy. Yeah. Also on his feet, really light, moving everywhere. He drove his opponents crazy. That guy was really,
Lomachenko.
Yeah, Lomachenko's a good one to watch today.
I'm old school. I like the old school guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think Lomachenko is a living legend. He's kind of old school already. But yeah, it's when you guys talk about that, I'm still new in this whole realm, but I had this glimpse of an idea.
Before you get to that, when you say you're new in this realm, sorry that I interrupt you, but I only started opening my mind when I was on my mid-30s, when I started getting into Kyokushin. Then I opened my mind to the whole spectrum of boxing and kickboxing and all this, everything. I've always loved martial arts, but we're always going to be new at this because there's always so much to learn. We're never, a lifetime is not enough to learn everything. But having the mindset that you have, that you're so open-minded and you have humility to learn and improve, that's the best attribute you can have, because you're always going to learn and improve. Sorry, keep going.
Thank you. Well, so I'm still just picking up some points, but that one of the points for me, which seems to be still true, when I look at those you mentioned greats, it almost always, like, or at least oftentimes, it looks that they have great footwork. Like, even I'm thinking about Ali or Mayweather. They're not brawling. They have excellent footwork. So it seems like footwork is a big thing.
Yeah, there's the subtleties is what separates them from all the other fighters. You know, it's those details. Fighting is an art. People think they're born and they know how to fight, and it's not like that. No one knows how to fight by default. You can be tough, but to learn how to properly fight, it's an art. That's why there are martial arts. If you do it properly, there are so many little subtleties that make a huge difference.
I always say, for those people who are watching like a boxing match, I say people who don't know boxing, watch what the hands are doing. People who do know boxing, watch the feet.
Yeah, you're right. As I got more experience in all my training and life, I started noticing all the little things, how they bob and weave, because boxing is not just throwing punches. Anyone can throw a punch. I really appreciate guys like Mayweather who know how to defend. The defense for me is the most important part. You have to dominate first. Then you can throw all the punches you want, because anyone can throw punches, but it's taking the punch or dodging the punch that's hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, it's one of those discoveries which I'm looking at right now in terms of sparring. You guys mentioned about circling and just getting out of the way. I'm surprised by how much that affects the whole sparring. That's kind of a big one.
Okay, the average person fights in a linear fashion. They go forward and backwards. It's the guy who knows how to use all range of movement diagonally and move in circles. He gets the big difference, because you can move to a different angle and counterattack, just like Daniel was saying. That gives you a huge advantage. In capoeira, for example, I did capoeira for about a year or 2 years when I was a teenager. They don't want you to move in a line. They say you only should move in circles. So I know capoeira just looks like crazy flips and stuff, but they actually there's a very rich combative side to that. There's a lot of useful stuff in there. It's not just like crazy flips and stuff.
Well, while we still have time, I was curious to ask both of you, again, because of your background, so you're this fairly unique field of having done taekwondo for years and years and then doing live sparring. What's the biggest thing you apply in MMA type of sparring?
You go first, Daniel.
As far as my taekwondo experience goes? I would say, my footwork, my being light on my feet. That's what taekwondo is really good at. They're really good at being light on their feet, trying to set up these fast kicks. And a lot of people downplay taekwondo's kicks. They say they're fast but not powerful. But behind speed, there is power. And it might not be as powerful as a full, hard hitting, Muay Thai round kick or whatever. But you can still devastate somebody, and the target is different. Like in Muay Thai, you hit with the shin, and in Taekwondo, you're hitting with the foot. And we were always taught to hit with the ball of the foot.
Yeah.
So that gives me a little more range. And when I do make contact, the energy is going over a smaller area. So you have more, pressure on a PSI, whatever, pounds per square inch. That's hitting a smaller concentrated area.
It's like the way my Taekwondo, first of all, I'm surprised because in WTF nowadays it's not so common because of the competitive aspect, but that's a traditional way to do it. All the traditional, Taekwondo comes from karate, and the traditional way is using the ball of the foot. We started using the instep in Taekwondo and karate because of competition, so you wouldn't have the other guy. But anyway, the way that my teacher used to teach me originally was, my first Taekwondo teacher, he gave me this example. If I press against you with my finger, it's not going to do anything. If I apply the same force using a needle, I'm going to pierce you, because it's more energy applied to a smaller, harder object. Like it's concentrated energy. That's exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can sneak your little ball of your foot in areas that are people are going to mostly block a big shin coming across like that. Whereas I've caught under here, and I can go right between here. I can get these little areas where I can still hit my target. And accuracy is important in Taekwondo.
Actually, Daidojuku, Kudo is karate and judo. They still do the ball. It's full contact fighting. They use the ball of the foot. And I trained Kudo a little bit, and some of those guys will just break you in half just using the ball of the foot. Sorry that I interrupt you, but you're bringing up so many things that my head is going to explode.
Oh, no.
And I'm really absent-minded.
No, that's cool.
If I don't see what I'm thinking, I'm just going to forget.
No.
I forgot.
So I would say that's one of the big things is a lot of the footwork advantage, the kicking advantage. I can't really say much for upper body stuff. Of course, Taekwondo lacks a lot of the punching strengths. So and a lot of the creative combinations too. Taekwondo has a lot of creative combinations. You'll throw in a round kick, and then your foot will go pop off the floor, and boom, you got a side kick. You throw these cool combos. Just like a boxer does 1, 2, 3, a Taekwondo guy will be kick, kick, kick.
You can switch from one kick to another. And like you say, the thing is like this. Muay Thai, you try to win by brute power, but you don't really need brute power. It's like trying to kill a fly with a cannon. Like I'm a small guy. I'm in inches. I must be like 5'6" or something. I'm 169 centimeters, and I'm quite light. I'm 62 kilos. So I don't rely on blunt force, but with precision. You kick someone on the liver, it doesn't have to be a full force kick. Just a nice solid kick to the liver. Without that much power, it's gonna render the guy useless. Like he's gonna fall, even if it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's no guy who can take a kick to the liver. It doesn't have to be hard or anything. So if you use accuracy or a kick to the chin with the ball of the foot, even if it's not as hard as a Muay Thai kick, it doesn't matter. The result is the same. The guy's gonna go down. So just like you say, I got the exact same benefits as you. The footwork and the fact, everyone tells me when I, both in Kyokushin and in kickboxing, they all told me, man, I can't see your kicks. I never know where you're going to kick. They're too fast, or I twitch them so they block down. I change it. I kick him in the face. That gives me a huge advantage. I had to learn how to punch properly because we only do straight punches. But other than that, the kicks have given me a great advantage. There's another thing is that you learn how to work with different distances. Like most guys have no management of distance. Now, in Taekwondo, you usually work at a mid to long distance. With Kyokushin, I learned to kick from a really close range because they stick to you on a punching range, but they are still able to kick you to the head from that range. So I learned my technique is hybrid now, but I get something of value from everything I do. There is no perfect art, but there's value to everything. Even from my Aikido time, I learned something. Rokas, you will see it eventually that all those years with Aikido, they're going to give you value. It's just, you're going to start, you'll become aware of it the more you practice.
Right.
You already see that the footwork is really helpful. Like
starting to kick in.
Yeah, I'm always appalled at how poor the footwork is with a lot of fighters nowadays. Sorry, I'm talking too much. I want Daniel to talk more.
I agree. No, I agree. I kind of stopped watching a lot of the UFC fights and stuff, and lost interest in a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it looks like drunk uncles, just you throwing sloppy overhand rights or ground and pounds, and that's about it.
I think there's a requirement to enter the UFC now. You need to have at least 5 tattoos, otherwise you cannot enter. And if you can string a sentence of 5 or 6 words all together without any grammatical errors, you're also not allowed to enter. So all the UFC fans are gonna get angry at me, but you know, I really miss the. Have you ever seen Pride? It was a Japanese MMA venue they had in the 90s. I really like.
You see my sweater I'm wearing?
Cool. I loved Pride. Man. It was awesome. There was no shit talking, no circus stuff, you know, no wrestling kind of thing. Like there were some guys who sometimes talk shit, but not generally, because it's Japanese people. They're very polite. They don't like shenanigans. They would do the talking in the ring. You know, it was pretty awesome. Crow Cop, all these guys, they used to shine there. I really like that. But the UFC is becoming like World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
Lately that's been talked about. Yeah. Nice.
By the way, we have 4 minutes, but I can stop this and like open another one and continue. Like I'm really enjoying talking to you. As long as you guys have time. Sure. I have nothing to do. We're on summer vacation, so.
I have like about half an hour, 20 more minutes.
Cool.
So you guys can continue without me.
Yeah, let's squeeze all the juice out of it.
Yeah. But so just before this one ends, maybe I can still chip in a question.
Yeah, we have 4 minutes.
So so in terms of those super kicks that you guys do, would you be able to like really, because from what I observed when I looked at your video, Santiago, of you sparring and using those kicks, you mentioned it looks like the guys would get confused on the other side. You would just really give them a hard time. So would that be your experience with using those kicks? Would you kind of overload your partners and be able to kind of dominate the sparring in that way?
It depends always, you know, this is all relative. It depends on who you have in front of you. But let's say I meet a guy who's never faced me, or someone with a variety of kicks. Of course, it's going to be, if I surprise him in a real fight, the first round at least, I'm sure I could connect a few good kicks surprising him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you see sparring videos, you're with your friends in the gym or partners, you're not going full force.
Yeah.
If you go with the intention of destroying the other guy, some of those kicks would do a lot of damage. There's a lot of kicks that are, what's the word? My vocabulary is disappearing in all languages now.
What are you trying to reference?
When you undervalue something, when you think something is useless. Why is my words not working now?
I don't know. The word for that
underestimated.
is underestimated.
Okay. Yeah. When there's a lot of techniques that are underestimated, like you know, Biturochagi. You know what it is, right? Daniel, you know Biturochagi. Biturochagi is a twist kick.
Oh, the twist kick, yeah.
Yeah, you kick. It looks like a front kick is coming, and then you switch it and kick outwards. It looks like a weak kick, but I've actually seen knockouts with that kick. And I've landed it a bunch of times, and it gets you to see stars, you know, if you land it properly. Mm-hmm. So if me being a light guy can do it, and I've seen guys in karate doing it and actually knocking the guy out. It doesn't have to be a super heavy kick. You just got to land it at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Rokas, when you asked your question, you used the word super kicks. And a lot of the kicks don't even have to be these super kicks. I have a really stupid, simple combo that works every stinking time against the MMA guys in my gym. And I'll just throw a low kick to the lead leg. I'll bring my foot back and use kind of, I call it like a rebound off the floor, and throw another low kick to the lead leg. It's just a low kick. And they might block or avoid the second one, but they're not used to such a quick boom, boom.
Right.
They definitely get hit by the second one, and they're like, oh crap, and that'll set me up for other things. I mean, it's just a stupid, simple combo, but it works for me. It works every time.
You know, the one that works flawlessly for me, like they always eat this one, is just any kick and then follow it with a side kick. Like I'll do an axe kick, they go back, and when they come back in, side kick, or hook kick and then side kick. Actually, I'm gonna upload I get a guy on the liver with that one. I'm gonna upload it soon.
Yeah, they always walk in they always walk in after your first kick. They don't expect a second kick.
Yeah. Nobody outside of taekwondo or karate, nobody uses side kicks, because it's the kick that requires the most technical practice. You need to practice it a shit ton of times. But so when someone does it to them, they don't know what to do because they never practice it, so they have no reference. Right. So if I miss a kick, I just immediately do a side kick after that, because I know they're gonna come back in and they'll just So that also what some people consider super kicks, they're just regular kicks for me, like a 360 turning kick. All you're doing is turning through your back and kicking. That's it. It's not very complicated, but it's confusing for the other person when they see you do that. They don't know what you're doing. So unless it's someone who has experience with it.
Okay, good.
I was actually, Daniel, what did you practice besides taekwondo? What other styles did you train in?
I've wrestled. I've done BJJ, MMA, judo, all my Hapkido mixed experience. Within my MMA stuff is, Muay Thai, boxing. I've done, this is kind of embarrassing, I've done a little bit of the pressure point stuff.
Hey, it's not embarrassing. I actually learned some Kyusho myself. There is some value in there. Forget about Robert Dillman and all that shit.
Yeah, George Dillman.
There is some useful knowledge in the pressure point stuff.
Yeah, I started learning it more out of curiosity. I was like, I wanted to check this stuff out and give it a fair, give it an actual fair judgment. And one of my instructors is really into it, and my dad is really into it, like really hardcore. And so I was kind of influenced by that for a short while, and then I kind of got out of it.
But I learned about, because it comes from Chinese medicine,
Right.
And I got a lot of use for it for health stuff, like pressure point massage and stuff like that. It really helps. It really relaxes you. It gets rid of headaches and other stuff. There's actually value in that. Not the no-touch knockout bullshit. That's just fantasy. But pressure point, the pressure point stuff, it is interesting. Before you say something, I just want to tell you a story. I had a girlfriend that whenever we had a fight, the way I would fix it was by giving her 1 hour of pressure point massage. She would put the timer and everything. And even if my fingers were aching, she would just check the timer. You'll keep going. But that stuff it really works for health.
Thinking though, if a martial art like that, like a healing martial art, that's not a very good martial art. You're just punching the person and healing them while you're punching.
It's not really like the original use. It's not a martial art. It's just Chinese medicine. And one of my friends in Korea, he's a holistic, traditional Asian doctor. He has a clinic and everything. He used to do pressure point and acupuncture in me, and that really, I felt great after that. But I don't know. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I definitely think it has benefits, but outside of martial arts. And it's funny because the way that they almost try to sell this, the George Dillman stuff to you is that it was some secret that they uncovered recently with back in I think it was the 60s when George Dillman talked to Oyatu, I can't remember the guy's full name. Oyatu Seiya, I don't remember, but and they it was some uncovered miraculous new martial art theory, and they're going to start applying it. And I think everything in martial art has pretty much been done by now. And I think they already looked at it and it got swept under the rug and said, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Where Dillman basically found another man's garbage and tried to pull it out and recycle it as a martial art.
Yeah.
Actually, but it definitely has. I've gotten acupuncture and I've gotten other things and massage and chiropractic work, and I think it has good uses for that. But I'm not gonna try to, think of, did you have breakfast today and what time is it, and if the sun is over here, I need to hit you on this point at a 5-degree angle with the alternating twist back and forth, and then I need to.
If your tongue is pointing in the wrong direction, it doesn't work.
Yeah, if you lift your toes, if you lift your toe the wrong way,
that's going to be on his gravestone when he dies. If you lift your toe the wrong way, you don't get knocked out.
Yeah,
but the thing is,
crazy stipulations.
Yeah, pressure point is actually a very basic concept. That is, it exists in boxing and everywhere. A liver shot is a pressure point. They're just areas in your body that will create trauma or a neurological effect. Punching someone on the jaw, or it's not just the brain rattling around. There are certain points that will shock your brain. It's not a esoteric science. The problem is with Dillman and these guys is I just touch you and you'll get knocked out. It's not like that.
Right.
It takes blunt force to certain points to create some dysfunction in the body.
And they try to do this like, I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying.
They try to do this like connect the dots thing too, where they say if I hit you on the elbow, then I go behind you and hit you on the lower back, and then I go down and I hit you on the inside of the right thigh, and it's always at like at this 45-degree angle, and I have to hit you with my left hand, and I have to. It's like just crazy. They try to.
It's a sequence
map. Yeah.
The magical sequence. Like, have you seen the movie Fist of the North Star with Gary Daniels? It's a famous Japanese. It's a Japanese comic book, but they made a film with Gary Daniels, this like actor from the. I really like that martial arts actor. Anyway, the guy does this like multiple punches on a guy in the body, like this with his fingers, and then the guy's head explodes. It's like,
yeah, the dim mak.
Yeah, the dim mak.
Five finger, whatever.
Like I hit you today, and you die a week from now.
Yeah.
You know what? This makes me think of. First of all, Einstein, I think it was Einstein, who said, if you cannot explain it simply, that means you do not understand it well enough yourself.
Yeah.
But what that makes me think of is oftentimes people are fascinated with complexities. Like even like if you think about people who are off conspiracy theories, like, they're just so sophisticated. There's so much detail, but by the matter of fact that they're so sophisticated, that's a sign that no matter it's a conspiracy theory, it's not real, but you can become so enthusiastic about it, and it kind of draws in certain types of people. But then at the same time, you look at, let's say, boxing. Boxing has 6 types of different punches, and there's sophistication, of course. I mean, you can spend your whole life studying just boxing, but at the same time, when I started getting into this realm, I was like shocked. I was like, 6 punches, that's it? And then, but that's what you work around. And then also when I came to the gym, SBG has a certain way of training. They give a lot of space for kind of finding your own style, which is really awesome, I think. So they don't give you like very precise details all the time. They give you the fundamentals, the universal things which work for everyone. But they're not trying, a coach is not trying to teach his own style because you're different, which is, I think, is great. But at the same time, what was really interesting for me, in Aikido, there's the right way and there's the wrong way, or at least the schools I was in. Oftentimes, the right way is how your sensei does it, even if he's shorter, bigger, whatever. But then there would be all these sophisticated details, like turn the wrist here, a little bit like that, hold it like this. If you hold it like this, that's a different technique. If you hold it like this, that's another different technique. And it's like your foot has to be in this angle, but not this angle. And all these difficult details, and I got used to that being like, okay, that's the way you train. And so I come in here into SBG, the first trainings, I'm like, somebody, like, they show me like I'm like, okay, so does my shoulder has to be like that or like this? And the coach is like, oh, it can be here, it can be here. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, he's just make sure it does this, and that, like full reach, block your chin. And for me, that was such a shocker because I realized, wow, you don't need to know all the specific details like in perfect. Now, the point is, that's not the point. The point is the functionality. But if it's too much details, almost like it's a sign that you're way off. You're not looking at the right direction. So that's kind of my contemplation. I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but that's what...
The essence of all things is simple in its base. Now, all the details, you develop them through experience. And the more technical you get, of course, you can refine things. But in essence, everything is supposed to be simple. Whenever I've been to a lot of tournaments that I've just went to see friends, taekwondo, karate, or kickboxing. And sometimes I've actually been the corner man because our coach wasn't there or whatever. And they ask for my advice. And I tell them, look, just do whatever you feel comfortable with. Basic things. Jab, cross, kick. Just keep it simple. That's the truth. You can add more things to your arsenal as you feel comfortable with, but just keeping things to the most basic and essential is what works. All the other details, you can add them as you progress. So you're right about that.
Do you agree, Daniel, as well?
Yeah. Keeping it simple is always better than trying to overcomplicate things, especially in a fight. It goes back to the old adage, I fear the man that trained one punch 1,000 times rather than 1,000 punch, 1,000 techniques, one time or whatever, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, completely. Have you guys seen anything on American Kempo? It's like one guy throws a punch like this, and this guy starts twirling around, doing all these esoteric movements and 100,000 slaps and kicks. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whenever I want to have a quick laugh, I just watch American Kempo videos. All the American Kempo guys are going to put hateful comments on this, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, guys, I need to go. It's a pleasure really to talk to you. I don't know if you still want to stay. Don't mind.
Yeah, it's up to Daniel. I'm okay.
I got some time.
Okay, we can talk for 10 or 20 more minutes. It's fine.
Sure.
So I'll let you guys have some fun. Thank you for including me.
Now we can talk shit about the Rokas.
Yeah. Now talk about me now. So thank you for the talk, and until next time.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Have a good night, man.
Bye.
Okay, so